Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm John Harrington from Phenom, Product Marketing Director, and today we're here to present Candidate Experience Secrets of the Euro 100 with DPDHL. I'm going to hand it off quickly for a round of introductions. Meredith, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick intro on yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's lovely to be here. I'm Meredith Wellard. I'm the VP for Group Talent Acquisition, Learning and Growth here at Deutsche Post DHL, and responsible for our career site and everything that comes with it.
Awesome. And again, I'm John Harrington. I am the Director of Product Marketing at Phenom. And I'm very excited to be here today to go through some of the findings from our State of Candidate Experience Report and have a quick run through of questions with Meredith to get a better understanding of the DPDHL candidate experience. We also have Alona Durhorst that I'm going to hand off to just give a quick introduction of herself.
Thank you. I know it's a very hard last name to pronounce, so let's just say Ilona, that's fine. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Ilona. I'm out of the Netherlands, and I'm the Solutions Director here at Phenom in Europe. I do have a background in talent acquisition and in recruitment marketing, employer branding, so I've seen a lot of different career websites. I'm going to walk you through the DPDHL today.
Awesome. And just a quick run through of agenda items before we actually get into the content, just so everyone can wrap their head around the flow. I'm going to start by giving some background on the European edition of our State of Candidate Experience report. This is our second annual State of Candidate Experience focused on the Euro 100. I'm going to start with some key findings and trends from the 2023 research. Then I'm going to get into the methodology that's used to perform these career site audits. We'll transition over to a discussion with Meredith from DPDHL to go through their candidate experience and a questions and answers session just to get everyone familiarized with the approach that DPDHL has been taking to really provide a phenomenal candidate experience for their job seekers. And then Alona is going to wrap up with a demo of the DPDHL career site. So before we jump in, just to get everyone familiarized with Phenom, we have a purpose to help 1 billion people find the right job. And it should be no surprise to anyone. That is why we continue to put this research out. We are not going to be able to achieve this purpose without coordination with all of our customers that are seeking to help people find the right job on their career site. So this research is extremely important to that end. And again, every year for the past 7 years, we've done an audit of the Fortune 500. And this will be the second annual report we've done focused on the European market and the European 100, which DPDHL is part of. Our audit methodology that we use is very, very aligned to how the average job seeker discovers a role. So how effectively is a career site attracting talent? How is it engaging with the talent, converting a job seeker from prospective to actual applicant, and to what extent artificial intelligence, conversational AI, personalization, dynamic updates, other forms of artificial intelligence are being incorporated into the candidate experience across each of these three areas. So as we undertake the audit process for the European 100 and their associated career sites, these are the 4 things that are being looked at closest. And each of the companies that are audited, they receive a scoring in the range of exceptional to poor. And this is not a popularity contest. This isn't anything more than a true objective analysis based on those 4 criteria that I mentioned. So across those 4 categories, scores are assigned, and then the average across those scores is where the total, the ranking comes from. So we very rarely see organizations get up to 100 score, right? There's always room for improvement. And the reality is technology continues to advance, approaches continue to evolve. The degree to which your experience is positive or acceptable, it actually can vary year over year, depending on how quickly you're getting on board as an organization with the change. So this report is an important utility that can be consulted to really pinpoint where are you doing well and what opportunities do you have to improve. So just to give you an idea, based on the 2023 findings, we did look at some of the things that stood out to us based on the audits that were conducted. So one thing that really was positive is that 9 out of 10 of the career sites had a very, very strong multi-device format where no matter which type of device you're viewing it from, whether it's your desktop, a tablet, or on your phone, you could get a similar consistent experience with no issues. We also saw that organizations were doing an exceptional job of cleaning up the jobs that were filled or pulled and really giving an accurate representation of the openings that they have by removing expired jobs from third-party sites. There was also effort made to cater to returning visitors to the career site, making it easy for them to use single sign-on as they're getting back into the experience of seeking a job and finding a job, making it easy for them to just plug and play. And similarly, the submit button being enabled, making it easier for users to submit their application and avoiding duplicate submissions. So over half of the organizations in the Euro 100 actually addressed that. There were some struggles in addition that everyone can think about in the context of their own career site and say, how are we doing in this area? And these are just themes that stood out again across the Fortune 500, Euro 100 audits that were completed. In this case, 6 things stood out to us for the Euro 100 that could be paid attention to in the year ahead to strive for further improvement. 90% of companies, for example, did not reach out to candidates to get an understanding of how their experience was on the career site. 83% did not display a recently viewed job. So if someone was looking at a potential role within the organization, then they navigate to a different part of the career site. It didn't make it easy to go back to that job. The person would actually have to go look for it again. Recommendations. So 8 out of 10 organizations struggled to make it easy for someone that's looking for a role who clarifies where they're located to really narrow down the options that are closest in proximity to where they're located. 75% did not present job recommendations based on browsing history. Again, going back to dynamic updates and personalization, 3/4 of organizations are not doing an effective job making it easy for people to find a personalized, catered to them type of experience to discover roles that are relevant to them. There was also keywords that fold into this same relevant suggestion area. 37% could provide relevant suggestions based on keywords being put in, meaning 7 out of 10 organizations don't make it easy for people to discover depending on the keywords that are put in. And only 1 out of 10 organizations had a chatbot on their career site, which is a pretty tremendous gap when you think about all the organizations in the Euro 100 that are failing to apply conversational AI. Not all bad, though. We actually did a year-over-year compare. Mentioning earlier that we have published research for the Euro 100 in the past. We did a range of audits in the previous year. So we wanted to see how have things changed from 2022 to 2023. And one of the most staggering data points we uncovered that job recommendations based on browsing history, that is something that's seen tremendous improvement year over year, even though it is still an area that needs some work for a large portion of organizations. I also mentioned only 1 out of 10 using a chatbot, but that is a huge improvement over the previous year, where now 67% are increasing their use of chatbots. So things are starting to go the right direction, even though there's a few things we've pinpointed that need improvement. We're still paying attention to the data and showing that organizations are paying mind to the things that can optimize and improve the candidate experience. So again, just to get back to who we have on today and what we're excited to cover, I did want to share the DPDHL audit results just to get a baseline understanding of some of the things that DPDHL is doing exceptionally well. You can see things like job search, off the charts in terms of how effective that is on the attraction side of things. Job descriptions they're knocking it out of the park, making it easy for people to align their skills, their proficiencies, their competencies, their preferences, their experience, their title, all those factors, and really identify jobs that are a good fit for them based on all the context that's being provided. I mentioned 1 out of 10 organizations are using a chatbot. DPDHL is not only using one, but having tremendous success with how they're using it with a score of 87. in that category. Being able to apply via social accounts, implementing personalization, and creating a great search experience. These are all things that anyone listening in can learn from DPDHL and how they're applying this approach and having success with it. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Meredith back into the conversation, and we're going to go through some questions and really help people understand how they can learn from DPDHL and what types of approaches they can start taking to emulate and replicate to have similar success in attracting, engaging, and converting job seekers. So Meredith, you're back on with me.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Feeling
on.
a little humble by all that wind that's blowing. So,
well, there's a tremendous amount of things to learn and take away from the research, and I think just many can learn from your experience. So I think one of the first things I'm interested in hearing from you today is where have you been and where are you now and where are you going relative to your candidate experience? What types of challenges were you experiencing before you started working with Phenom, and what kinds of things are you now addressing today now that you've made an effort to improve upon those challenges? I think that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because in the first instance, I think it's important to recognize that we're really a massive company with over 600,000 employees in every country in the world. And in before we had Finum, one of the things that we were really challenged with is how do you bring across all of that landscape some consistency, some rigor around your brand, and really some visibility on Google search and so forth. We found that we had over 200 satellite career sites around the globe, all with slightly different brand position, all with slightly different functionality and experience for candidates. And some of them had never had a click. So they were all fighting for transparency, and some really were never even being used. So very early on, we said, okay, what we need is firstly to identify how we can really position a global career site that also supports local requirements in terms of things like language and visuals and so forth. But secondly, we were on an agenda to drive, really efficiency and effectiveness. So reduce the amount of time it takes to apply, reduce the recruitment processes, and of course, the career site plays a big role in that. But also improve candidate experience. So we really very early on said we need to do both those things in parallel, as well as build our brand and consistency, reduce things like fraud and a lot of things we were exposed to previously. So that's where we started, and we focused on the fundamentals.
Yeah,
You know.
I think it's really important to set a strong foundation. You can't build Rome in a day or do it all overnight. You have to really start with the basics and the things that if you aren't doing right, none of the other stuff really matters. And it seems like the way you broke it all down into chunks and figured out what are the big rocks that we need to really start making an effort to move and start making progress with puts you in a good position for future success. One of the questions I have for you, as you were thinking through your approach that you're going to take, how did you get from being reactive to taking a more proactive approach to candidate recruitment, and to what extent did you make adjustments in your strategy related to your career site to accommodate that?
Did you lose me or did I lose you? Sorry, John.
Hey Meredith, I can still hear you.
Good.
So the question I had was what did you do to go from taking a reactive to more of a proactive approach, and to what extent did that affect your career site strategy?
Yeah. So I think when you have a desire to standardize your global career sites, and bring them all onto a sort of single tenant, one of the things that you have to understand is that each of the different countries are going to want to be able to respond very quickly to their needs and environments. And in order to do that, we needed to firstly say, how can we set it up so that we're proactively understanding what people might need? And a classic example was with the Ukraine war kicking off, for example, when it was very clear very quickly that there was going to be this influx of refugees across Europe who would be potential candidates for our jobs, and how could we, as quickly as possible, get a Ukraine language site up that could support an application flow. And this was about training internally people, giving them the ability to manage their own sites within the scope of the parameters we'd set to protect our brand and protect our experience and so forth. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a pretty fascinating example, and it really I think highlights how close to the vest to the details, and how well aligned your brand is to what's going on in the environment around you, and really making an effort to ensure your approach, your strategy, your technology are well aligned to respond to any change, whether it's a tragedy, whether it's a market opportunity, right? Being able to be nimble and flexible and be able to meld to what's actually taking place, I think is an important, baseline to be setting on how you want to be able to react. Or like I said, be more proactive when you're starting to get signals or starting to detect things that that would necessitate action being taken up front so that you're ready to go when the time
Right.
comes.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
another thing that stands out about some of the approaches you're taking with your career site that others might be in a good position to learn from is, I mentioned your job descriptions. I mentioned how effectively you're using things like search and personalization. What types of attributes would you say your site has, and the approach that you're taking in your strategy to get candidates into your funnel and through the funnel that are really high quality, very well aligned with your job requirements, and how you're defining what success would look like if they possess specific attributes?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's quite there's quite a lot to it, isn't there? One of it is about really understanding where some of the AI supports, for example, the skills recommendations and the different criteria on the CRM. That's one side. I think the other side is getting the team that supports the platform not only to understand what the experience is for the candidate that side, but really get their heads around the back end and what are the key levers, like what are the different aspects that they need to be addressing in order to ensure that the platform is making good recommendations. And I think I told you the story earlier of, we're fixated on geolocation in our organization because we know that our frontline workforce stay longer when they're close to their home and perform better. And so being able to not only structure the platform in a way that allows the local teams to run campaigns and drive initiatives there, but also ensuring that we're really continually tracking the data points to ensure that we're this is the target audience, and yes, we are actually getting those people. And when we see that we're not, then the team is aware to make adjustments to, whether it's the tagging or some of the job description language or structure. Then they make those adjustments very quickly. We did realize that the integration with our ATS needed to be absolutely on point in terms of ensuring that the right data was coming through, and where we saw gaps that we addressed it proactively rather than trying to retrospectively tackle that.
Yeah, and that's actually bringing me to my next question. You were mentioning how widespread your operations are in different geographies, and how you need to really fine tune your approach depending on the context within a given environment, whether it's a language consideration or cultural thing or a different set of roles that are very important for a specific geography, and how you position the job description, and really architect an approach that will allow you to attract and engage and convert the right applicants for those roles. How have you managed to strike a balance between achieving global brand recognition and consistency and how your brand is being perceived and looked at across so many geographies while also achieving that level of localization. And what to what extent have you worked with Phenom to really make that work effectively for
Mm,
your goals and objectives?
mm, mm. I have to say, I think we're still getting there. I mean, we have a beautiful global career site, and we worked with Phenom extensively to understand how we could architecture that to ensure that we leverage the best possible visibility results. So, how do we structure, for example, the languages so that they are not independent of each other or fully independent of each other across different countries, but we're benefiting from the volume and the positioning of our jobs across, for example, French, English, German, the big languages that we've got, and always using the same sort of structure and so forth, so that we're not left fighting for our own airspace against each other, which doesn't
Right.
ever make sense. But I think the other thing is, the valuable inputs that we've had from Phenom around. We have many ATSs. We're not a single ATS organization, and that's a problem for us. But I think we've been able to work very effectively with Phenom to address the challenges of that, focus on the core common data points, and what's most important that we have to start with. And as we work, some parts of the business have already taken up, for example, hosted apply functionality, and very quickly you see the benefits of things like that, and other parts of the business go, well, maybe I'd like to be able to do that as well. So it's sort of two-sided. One is really get right the fundamentals, as you mentioned it earlier, but then work in an iterative way to continually improve the platform. And internally, we highlight a lot where those benefits come up for different parts of the business. So we do a lot of very visible reporting, a lot of storytelling to show the successes.
Yeah, and using the folks that are getting on board with it, having success, using them as the champions and the
Yeah,
mouthpiece for, hey, this is how we're doing this so
yeah,
effectively. And then others that aren't necessarily taking that approach, they can't
yeah.
afford to at least be curious, if not say, I need to do that too. How do I get started? Right.
Exactly. And I mean, one example is around some of the GDPR topics, which are really heavy in Europe, but not as intense in other parts of the world. That we've been able to work with Phenom to build the right necessary sort of structures, if you like, to ensure that we're compliant in. I mean, we're a German company, and and a sort of government enterprise, so we really are under the radar there. You won't find a tougher compliance organization, but the good thing is we've been able to address that while still allowing, for example, the American organization to get on with it,
Mhm.
and do what they need to do. So it's been good.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think the sooner you can get some evangelists and start kind of piggybacking off of the work they're doing, you really start to see that change management nightmare turn into something where everything kind of comes together overnight, and it takes a village, but you start to really see that progress happen.
Yeah,
Um, One thing I'm also curious about, you've got such a wide diversity of you mentioned ATSs and a lot of different integrations you're leveraging to really make the candidate experience better for those that are looking to find the right job, right? Depending on where
yeah.
they are, what their skills are, what their experience is, what they're well aligned with. How have you made it easier for your brand visibility and acknowledgement and understanding of what your open positions are? How have you made that easier for people to actually find and pinpoint the right opportunity for them?
Good question. I think using so we have a whole sort of strategy around acquisition that is made up of obviously our career site. Most of our traffic comes through job boards. Like the vast percentage of our traffic comes from job boards. Obviously, our campaigns and events and these types of things, but also our internal workforce. So we recruit a lot internally. And understanding how all those pieces fit together and intentionally connecting them. So, for example, we do a lot around our esports campaign, and here we really bring the campaign into the platform. We demonstrate who we're trying to attract, so it's for tech and young talents largely. So we have a very clear space on our career site where tech and young talents come to. It looks good to them. It has the right language, the right, but also reflects our brand consistently with all of the other parts of the career site. Um, that's also reflected in our job and ratings boards. That's also reflected in our internal organization. So it's, very heavily aligned. I think people who are a lot smarter than me when it comes to really this digital marketing space make it happen.
Right.
You need to have that brain on board, I think. But from a strategy perspective, I think it's really about understanding the full landscape, and
Mhm.
ensuring that you bring it together. And most of ours is positioned around the career site, around the
Mhm.
Finum product. Yeah,
What advice would you have for your peers that are looking to learn from DPDHL on how to achieve brand excellence in the digital world we're living in? I know you just
yeah,
shared some examples of what that looks like when it's working well, but if you're an organization that doesn't necessarily have that approach down pat
yeah,
and you need to, like what would you do to at least put some prescriptive steps out there to follow to
yeah.
really start getting a better handle on it?
So I think the first thing is the platform is brilliant, but it will only do what you enable it to do, right? So ensuring that you have a clear understanding of how your EVP is reflected in your brand, so that you can then position that not only in the look and feel, but also in the experience that you want candidates to have. For example, our strategy is all about excellence in a digital world. How foolish would we look if we were in the market looking for the best tech talents and didn't have a chatbot and didn't have a really modern career site? This is brand is more than just the visuals, isn't it? It's the whole experience that we bring
Right.
to the table. So if I was to advise, I would say, don't expect that the platform will answer all your questions if you haven't put already the effort in terms of the story you want to tell. And probably that's where I would start. But
Right.
also understanding it's the core. It's a core to a much bigger piece of work, and yeah, build it up.
Yeah, I like that example of not just talking the talk or showing someone what you think that they want to see, but actually walking the walk and saying, "Hey, this is the expectation. We need to follow through on that with what people expect to see and the type of experience we know they need to have in order for us to achieve our objectives." Right.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly,
that's
exactly.
really good advice. I appreciate you sharing that. Any other advice that you might share? Any questions that come up when people are asking you how you did it or how you got where you are today that you think would be beneficial from those listening in to take
Yeah,
into account, especially in light of your experience and some of the trends I mentioned earlier? Anything that
yeah,
stands out to you that you've learned from, like any nuggets or takeaways that you think would
yeah.
help?
Yep. I think it is worth investing a little time up front to really understand some of these new technologies, not only the sort of digital marketing side of it, but also the AI and the functionalities that exist in the platform, including the chatbot, in order to leverage those things which come out of the box largely, in a really effective way. They're your low hanging fruit. And then I think the second really important thing is build a relationship that's intended to last. A career site's not something that you turn on and expect brilliant results day one, forget about it, and then after 12 months go, oh, I've changed my mind, I'll go with another provider now, right? You build a career site with the intention to develop it over many years, and that's how you get real success. And start with something and grow it.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to one of the first things we talked about. It won't happen overnight. It takes effort. It takes careful thought and consideration, setting a strong foundation and iterating over time and keeping up, like you said, with the pace, the rapid pace of change in technology, the advancements in AI. How does that actually intertwine with the type of experience you're able to deliver to candidates? So I think that's really helpful advice. I'm ready to transition over to your career site because there's a lot of cool things that it features, and I think it's gonna
there it
provide.
is.
Yeah, we've only seen the front end of it on your background here, but I think everyone's ready to jump in a little bit deeper. So we're going to transition now over to Alona, who's going to be giving a live demo of DPDHL's career site. So Alona, when you're ready, let's get it up here, and we can take everyone through it. I know everyone's excited.
You're on mute, I think.
Classic. Well, thank you all. Thank you for your great story, Meredith. That was very helpful. So again, we are going to walk you through the website of DHL Careers. And what we see is that candidates will always start their journey, well, most of them will start their journey in Google, right? And Meredith spoke about how important geolocation is to make sure that candidates are ending up on the right page immediately. So that's where Phenom can help with as well. So if I'm looking for DHL roles in Google, it will make sure that you end up high in Google. So you end up high here. And if I click on it, it understands where I'm located. I'm out of the Netherlands. So it will direct me immediately to the Dutch webpage. So that my experience as a Dutch person will go to the Dutch jobs immediately, but also in my own language. Don't worry, I will switch over to English since that's, I think, better for everyone in the room. Next to that, this whole page is in full control of DPDHL, right? So it comes with a content management system. And as you can start seeing, it has a great technology built behind it. So it already understands that I've been on this website before. So immediately I am getting job recommendations based on my browsing history. So all those jobs I was looking into before, it will pop up immediately so I can finish my journey if I wasn't ready to apply yet. So that technology comes out of the box and is one of the reasons why a website is converting faster, right? Because I don't have to start my journey as a candidate from scratch if I'm coming back to the page. And this is one of the examples that Meredith spoke about, like how can we create pages in a fast way? This page can be created in 15 to 20 minutes in the content management system. So you won't rely on external agencies. You can just bring this up yourself with the technology. So everything you're seeing here is all managed within that content management system. So what DHL is doing very well, they have all those different pages for certain roles. So they make a difference between their frontline roles and their office roles, because think about it, those target groups are different. They have a different behavior. So why not having different pages as well? So if I want to learn more on that frontline jobs, I'm going here. And this is also super useful if you are doing social media campaigns or if you're doing job board campaigns. You can redirect people directly to the right landing page where they can find all the information that they need to make a decision if they are a good fit for DHL. And for instance, think about frontline workers, right? For them, it's very important to work very close to their homes. So now I can literally search for my hometown, Rotterdam. I will find all the opportunities immediately, have an overview, and I can quickly apply if I want to. But the technology has more to offer, right? So it has, as you can see, a chatbot functionality where I can ask any question. So sometimes candidates have questions, right? What is your salary? Where are you located? What is the hiring process? So I can type in any question. Do you offer internships, for instance? Or I can just pick and choose one out of those options presented to me. And this is already the AI driving this, right? So based on the information that that we get from the data, if other candidates are asking those type of questions after they ask this question, those will pop up to help the candidate proceed. I can also start asking for job recommendations, because it's very hard for me to find the right job, right? Maybe I am having different job title than DHL is using. So if I'm looking for a job in sales, and this is where that great job search is coming, if I'm looking for a job in sales, it understands my location again, so it will provide to me roles that are closest to my current location. But it also understands that not only the word sales is taken into consideration, also other jobs like account manager or any related jobs that are close to that skill or keyword that I was using in the word sales. And everything I'm doing is conversion driven. So you will start seeing some recognizable features that you might recognize from e-commerce, right? So for instance, hey, you can save this job for later. You also have similar jobs here, or other candidates also view these roles. Think about if you're buying some new sneakers or new shoes. This is what you would see in the e-commerce world that we bring into the candidate world for you. And then everything I'm doing is making sure that this website will constantly change. So think about Netflix, right? If we would all open up our Netflix accounts right now, they all look different because we have a different we have a different search behavior, and we have a different taste in movies. And that experience is exactly what we're bringing to the table here. So these are the jobs that I was browsing on earlier. But what if I'm coming back and I just want to get some job recommendations? I can get started here in this banner, or I can do the exact same experience on the chatbot, and they are all connected to each other. So if I am looking for any jobs, I can find a job here, and the technology gives me two options here. I can either use my resume, or I can simply answer some questions. And think again about all those different target groups. Some of the frontline workers might not have a resume, so it's great for them that they can just simply answer some questions, and based on that, they can find jobs that are a good fit for their needs. If I do have a resume, I can just simply use that to be able to get those recommendations. Of course, a privacy statement here, so I have to agree to that. And then the technology will help finding me a good role. So in this example, I'm going to use my resume. In this resume, the AI will start helping to screen that resume. And this is also where the personalization will start. So here, for instance, if I'm looking for my resume that I created for this one, the AI will start screening it right now and gives me recommendations not only based on my browsing history, but also based on my profile. And as you can start seeing, again, the Netflix experience, it will start recognizing my name, and this will all be saved. So even though I'm coming back tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, it will still have all those recommendations. And I can just simply browse through all those jobs. And if I say, hey, yes, I'm interested, this is where you can start growing your talent pools as well. Because, of course, I can apply now for this role, which we make very easy for everybody. But if I say, hey, would you like to receive information about us? If I say yes now, I already become a lead in the CRM of DHL. So they can already contact me, they can already put me in a talent pool, and that's how you can grow your talent pools without the necessity to receive that full application. If you want to apply, of course, we make that as simple as possible. So for instance, for this role, if I want to apply, we make this as easy as possible. This is totally configurable. So it's as long as or as short as you want it to be. I can apply with my Indeed profile, with Dropbox, with OneDrive, so it's super mobile friendly. I can also just simply upload my resume. Everything will be pre-filled, and I can apply within a few seconds, because we want to make it easy and simple for candidates to apply and leave their information so that they are having the best experience. So as a summary, the websites of the Phenom platform are all managed within the content management system. That content management system, this is a short overview, is super easy to use. It works with a drag and drop system. So if you want to create that page about refugees, or if you want to create a page about a certain target group for students or whatsoever, I can just simply add a new page here. I pick and choose what type of page I want, and I can start filling it by using certain widgets. For instance, that location map, or maybe employee testimonials that I want to add with however I think is necessary. So I drag and drop it here, and this is where I can start changing all those pictures and changing the text if I want to. It's very easy to use. With my marketing background, I used to work with a lot of different CMS systems like WordPress, like Drupal. This CMS is created for career websites, and that's a huge difference. So it's very easy to use. I don't need to write any code. Anyone can use it. And then I can publish my page within 10 to 15 minutes. So it's easy and it's smart. So having a website with this technology is making sure your candidates are having a personalized experience based on their behavior and based on their profile if they want to. We can automate a lot of the screening options here, and we make sure that your website is conversion driven by getting the information of the candidate even before they apply and making it very easy for the candidate to leave their application. All of that comes with data. So we are making sure that your recruitment marketing manager or recruitment managers are having insights in everything that's happening on the career side so that you can start optimizing everything, right? So what kind of questions do people ask in the chatbot? What kind of search terms do they use? So that you can start to get to know more about your audience and therefore optimizing your career site constantly. But also think about, where do people come from? Like Meredith said, they have a lot of traffic coming from job boards. So what is the quality of those job boards? How many people are applying, but also how many people are being interviewed or hired? You can even add your expenses to start measuring your ROI. There's a lot more to show, but we only have a few more minutes left. So I want to wrap this up by thanking Meredith, and feel free to walk around on the DHL website yourselves. I mean, this is all live. It's very easy to use for having a great candidate experience. John, back over to you.
Thanks, Ilona. And I think there's a lot that anyone listening in today has to unpack, because DHL has all the bases covered across attraction, engagement, conversion, and utilization of AI. Ilona, thanks for giving everyone that illustrative overview and demo of the career site. I think we want to try to narrow this down and make it easy for anyone to walk away with some steps that make sense in the context of what was shared today. So where can you start? And how do you take into account some of the opportunities that exist, some of the trends that I shared from the report that we put out in 2023? What are some of the things you can actually put into action today? So personalization and making the candidate experience more catered and aligned to what job seekers are looking for. And how do you make sure that AI and automation is coming into play to make that more effective? So things like updating with search options that align to the keywords that are being put into search, or integrating conversational AI into your career site. These are good examples of things. If you're not doing them today, try to evaluate how you could start integrating them into the approach you're taking in attracting, engaging, and converting job seekers. showcasing a strong employer brand. And in the case of DPDHL, a multinational organization, you need to find a balance that can be struck across making your brand excellence objectives come to light in a digital world and really achieving that, while also localizing and keeping the content very relevant to different geographies and different types of job profiles you're trying to attract. Making sure that you're leveraging the power of a drag and drop system like the CMS that Ilona shared to really customize it and make it work to your intended objectives, but also making sure you're consistent. As every page is navigated to, you'll know that it's a DHL site and it's aligned with the way the brand needs to be represented. Also, embracing cutting edge technology. This one requires keeping your pulse on the evolution and advancement that's happening, especially new aspects that are being integrated in the mix, like generative AI. How are you aligning and applying to what's available today to really infuse that into the candidate experience and make it that much more exceptional? So these are some things that we've bundled up for you to think about. Obviously, lots that Meredith shared. I hope you were taking notes, but this is recorded, so you can go back and listen and take into account some of the prescriptive guidance that she shared. And obviously, we want to make sure that we thank Meredith for her time today. Thank you for hopping on, and thank you for sharing your story. For those of you who have questions for Meredith, her email address is listed here. Ilona and myself are also available for contact with any questions related to Phenom. And we can't thank anyone enough for hopping on, listening in, and hopefully taking away some good guidance and detail that you can apply back to your organization and your career site. Ilona, Meredith, thank you again. And everyone, I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.